Welcome back, everyone, to our section on Microsoft Teams. We are following along with the online meeting survival guide. This is getting us into part 2 of the book, where we're looking at technical implementation and use of Microsoft Teams. We've already looked at Google Meet and Skype. Now we're getting to Microsoft Teams, followed by Zoom and Facebook Rooms. Let's get into it. So, big fan of Microsoft Teams. Microsoft is so well known in the industry, and we're following along here in the book. We've already covered Google Meet and Skype. We'll be doing Zoom and Facebook Rooms soon. And business needs are constantly evolving. And at the core of business productivity and communication solutions, you will find the Windows operating system. In fact, Microsoft has been a global leader in computer operating systems since the development of Windows in the 1980s. So Microsoft has a unique capability to offer ground-up communication solutions for businesses that literally start at the operating system and now move all the way to the cloud. In fact, globally, Windows operating systems are used anywhere from 75 to 85% of all desktop and laptop computers. So over the past decade, Microsoft has been able to leverage their foothold in the global computer operating system marketplace to launch their cloud-based workplace solution, Microsoft 365, and they also provide computing power with Azure. So here we go, online workspaces. We looked at Google Meet, which is part of the G Suite. Now we're looking at Microsoft Teams, which is really the glue for collaboration on the Office 365 cloud. It's hard to say how important Teams is, hard to understate how important Teams is, because Office 365 has so many different applications, yet Teams is really the application that ties it all together. So looking at Microsoft Teams, and we'll do a little live demo here in a moment, but just high level, you've got some different modes here. You've got an activity mode, a chat mode, a Teams mode, a calls mode, and a files mode. And then you have your 3 dots, which is universally known for getting into the settings. So in the activity area, this is where you're going to have your notifications. Now, you're likely going to be using Microsoft Teams for a communication platform that has different channels. You're going to have lots of chats going on. Some of those chats will be with one person, and some of those other chats will be with groups and channels of communication. In your activities bar, this is where you're going to get updates on what's going on in all the different channels inside of Microsoft Teams. It's important to look at the notifications that are settings for your activity feed if you're getting too many notifications. In fact, you can mute individual chats and individual channels so that you're not getting overly notified about things that aren't important to you. In the book, we have an entire chapter on optimizing collaboration channels, and you don't want to over collaborate or be inundated with unimportant activity notifications that aren't relevant to you. In the chat area, you can start chats immediately. You can share files. You can send emojis and GIFs. You can also launch meetings directly inside of a chat by clicking the little camera button there. You can launch a call, and you can launch a screen sharing setting. It's very interesting the way that Microsoft Teams, and similar to Google Chat, but I'll say Microsoft Teams has it down better, is that you can launch video conference calls, meetings, phone calls, screen sharing sessions directly into a threaded conversation, which gives context to the meeting itself. So it's very powerful. In the message area, you have the ability to type messages, share files, and all of those things, and manage, obviously, your contacts. Now, in the settings area, it's fairly straightforward. There's less settings here than actually in Skype that we looked at two videos ago. But essentially, you can set your default speaker and microphone. One of my favorite features inside of here is the ability to make a test call. That really helps people familiarize themselves with the process, get some feedback about the way they look and sound with their selected microphones and cameras. So it's a really great tool. If you want to make a test call just to see how you look and sound, you can do that there. This is also where you can access those notification settings, your privacy settings, and then all of the general settings available in Microsoft Teams. So when you actually get into a test call, and this kind of looks funny because that TE is like almost on my nose, But this is a test call. And you can see here, I was testing out my microphone and camera. Let me go into Teams and show you the actual interface here so we can do a live demonstration. So inside of Teams, we have the ability to get into our activity feed, which you can find here, the chat feed, the Teams feed, and you can create teams here, build a team from scratch, or pull in an existing Office 365 group or team. This is where you can make all of your phone calls, access your history, your voicemail. It really acts as if it's a voice over IP system where you have a full voicemail and call forwarding. This is where you can manage all of your files, which are integrated directly into the OneDrive. You can integrate apps directly into Teams to make yourself more productive. And then finally, wanted to show the settings area. So the settings for Teams can be found in the top right corner by clicking the letters inside of your name. This is where you can easily manage your availability status, which is important so that you can let people know whether you're available to communicate or if you're busy. You can also turn the Do Not Disturb session here, or do Be Right Back so that you can let people know that you're busy right now, maybe going to take the bathroom or whatever. It's more of letting people know about the presence of your availability via Teams. Now, you can set a status message as well, which allows people to know exactly what you're doing if you're on vacation or, doing a specific meeting. Then in the settings area, we get access to some more advanced settings in Teams. But I will say it's nice and succinct and easy to use. I prefer the dark setting. This gives you 3 different theme options, the high contrast and the dark. Some options for the application to be running in the background and automatically start as it comes up and down. And then when you close the application, whether or not you want it to keep running. Now, there's obviously a bunch of languages that it can be translated into, and the keyboard language overrides. The privacy area allows you to manage what the Do Not Disturb option does for you. And you can go into there and manage the priority of people who can access you during Do Not Disturb. You can block contacts, so you can edit your block contacts here if somebody, specifically you just don't want to communicate with. Turn off and on your read receipts and your surveys here. Now, in the notifications area, this is important to manage because we can all get too many notifications in our collaboration solutions, and it drags us down because we can only focus on so much. So you can decide whether you'd like 3 different types of notifications. You can actually get an email and a banner for any personal notifications, and that's the default. That's a little bit much for me, especially if you're getting mentioned a lot in conversations. So you can turn this to banner only, and that will show a banner little notification in the edge of your screen. You can also have it only show in feed. So essentially in your activity feed up here at that bell, it will show. So think about that. You don't want to be getting too many emails, and you do have some granular control over each type of piece of information and communication available and the notifications that you could be sent. Now there's also, obviously your default devices can all be set up here. You can set up all of your permissions, and then you can route your calls, whether you want to have calls forwarded to you, set up a voicemail, and configure your voicemail settings. So that's the bulk of the Teams setting options. So finally, when you are going into a Teams meeting, you can do something called Meet Now. And when you click Meet Now, I've always been really impressed with how quickly you can meet now directly into a conversation or directly with someone using Microsoft Teams. You have the ability to add a little meeting name, and it kind of opens up a meeting launcher, if you will. So you can see your camera, turn it off and on, schedule the meeting for later, or click that Meet Now button to launch a meeting that others can join into. And that is our look at Microsoft Teams. The goal here is to familiarize you with the way that many of these platforms look and act and feel. So now you can kind of have an idea of what Microsoft Teams looks like the next time you're invited to a Microsoft Teams meeting. All right, we'll see you on the next video, Zoom video conferencing.